All right, this is going to be a short Fusion tutorial where at this point we're assuming you know how to make stuff. This is like the start of the arm. When you want to move stuff in Fusion, we can either like attach, sorry, we can go to the move and copy function and we can like select an object and then we can move it. So we can manually move our thing, and that's good for like in our design. It's fine for finding the limitations, but we have multiple parts that are moving together. We're going to be rendering at some point, we're going to be rendering the piston. Let me see if I can show the piston here. At some point we're going to have this piston over here, and we want this piston to also match the movement of the arm. So if we tried that previous method over here, we go to move, and if I try to move this, not that arm, if I try to move this thing like the previous one, the piston doesn't follow. Right? We want the piston to follow together. So what I've done here, this is actually a previous one I've worked on, and so I'm going to hide this half, which is the non-functioning half. I'm going to show the other half, and this one I've done a thing called joints, where I've linked these things together. So if I actually move, if I move this particular arm over here, can I move it like that? How do I move it? We want to make it so if I can move this particular arm over here, everything will follow. So I'll show you that if I animate, and as you see here, as the arm moves up and down, the piston is following it. The piston's both expanding, but also, like down here, it's curving and matching that particular part. This is more like how your arm will be flexing. In the short time of the tutorial, we're not going to make it look as good as this. We're not even going to get the piston to look like the 3D piston. I was just trying to experiment by making a good looking syringe. We're just going to make it by 2 cylinders. And so I'm going to pause the video now to let the class catch up. Pause. Okay, for this simple one, we're doing your box tutorial where I'm just going to make a very simple box. In fact, I'll go to create and I'll just use a box here. You obviously with your boxes, you're going to have your custom dimensions, but I'm just trying to make this as simple as possible. Yep, we'll make a box that's this particular size. Cool. Remember, the size of the box actually doesn't matter. What we do want to do is I want to separate this top piece from the bottom because that's going to be the top part that opens. So how we're going to do that is we will go to create sketch on the side over here. If we make a line, just making a rectangle, and what this will allow me to do is if I go to home, I can press extrude. And I believe if I do this and I press intersect, no, that's not going to work. New body, okay. So I have this top half of the box over here. One thing I need to do is, so I have 2 bodies at this point. You have your, it's very important we have different bodies, because if you combine these together, they're not going to be able to move relative to each other. So we have the lid. We'll hide the lid for now. So we can use a simplified function of here. We can use the shell. If we have the outside shape of our box, what the shell is going to do is going to hollow out the inside of the box. So can we press that shell? And I'm just going to press this panel over here. I'm going to say how thick I want the outside to be. And let's say I want it to be 0.2. No, maybe, sorry, not 2, 5. 5 millimeters. That's how thick the box will be. So how thick the walls of the box will be. And so now our box is hollow. This top one over here actually still overlaps it, so it's not perfectly aligned yet. So what I'm going to use is I'm going to use Modify. I'm going to use this alignment tool. Do you see over here my lid is like overlapping? It's not actually on top. So I'm going to modify, I'll press align, and I'm going to, once you do the align tool, you see how you have these little white dots everywhere and these little rectangles? It's trying to visualize what are you trying to align with something else. So give me two things that are going to be connected to each other. So I want the top of this box over here, I'll align that. And what I like to do is once I pick the first half, and I know this is the thing I've selected because this body over here has these little blue lines underneath it. And I'm going to hide this, and I want this to be aligned with, I want this to be aligned with this geometric shape over here. So I'll press this, and now, if I unhide it, they are aligned, but I also want to flip it, so I'll press the flip button, and there we go, now this is on top. Okay, it's all good. Okay, so now this is basically what I want to happen. This is the goal before we start making pistons or other things moving. I have this part of the top here. I basically want this top half to do something like that, right? That's basically what I want with my box. So I've got to have something that everything is going to rotate around. So I will hide this part of the box. I'm going to make a tube going through here that all these objects will be able to follow. So I'm just trying to go here. I'm trying to pick a point that's like something that makes sense. So if this is a square, all I want to do is just pick a point in the center of this square. Probably the easiest way is just to do this. Just to do two lines like this. So I'm just doing this shape over here. And then when I press finish, I can just extrude this to these particular shapes. Right. And I can copy this on the other side, but for the sake of this demonstration, it actually doesn't matter. But what I will do to make it look nicer is this top half. I've got to kind of clean this a bit because it's overlapping. We don't want that overlapping part. So how am I going to do this? What's the cleanest way to do this? I will go and I'll sketch on this shape over here. I just want to cut out this particular shape like that. Finish sketch. -5, okay. And in your design, you probably have like a rod or something sticking out there. And that's going to help us do this design. Shh, boys, too loud. You probably have a rod sticking out there like that. Okay, cool. So this is more like what it's going to look like, right? That's similar to what your designs might look like, except some of you used you made those little cubes. It's similar, that's like a rod going through that part of the design. The next thing we have to do is we have to get the cylinder to open, because we want this box to open. And for that, what's the best way to do this? Because I do like to look inside the box. How view this? Sectional analysis. So what I'm going to do is I want to look inside this box so I can visually understand it better. So under the views, I'm going to say inspect and I'm going to do sectional analysis. And what this lets me do is it lets me look at like inside an object. So inspect in sectional analysis. I'm going to press this plane. And I'll flip it around. Okay, so now we're able to see inside this particular object. Okay, and then we can modify that, and then later we can remove that analysis, and that analysis is over here. So if ever I want to hide this, I can show the full box, but it's allowing me to look inside the object as I'm making it. So we need to make our little piston that is going to come out and curve in our design. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to make a circle. I'm going to make where the bottom part of the piston is going to connect. So in your design, you probably have that somewhere like, oh, sorry. You probably have that looking something like this. Okay. Probably looking something like that. And you need to do the same thing on the top. And what's the easiest way to do that? The easiest way to do that is probably hiding this body. With this one over here, we can sketch. And how I would do it is I would just go over here and I would do like how you're doing with your designs, but I'm going to make a little cube. I'll make a little cube and I'll press OK. And then when I have the little cube, I'll go and I'll make a little, like a hole inside the cube. Okay. So in our design, this is where we're going to try to attach the piston to. In fact, I might even make this look better. I might make this look like an actual hole so we can better visually represent our design. Okay. So this is like the two holes that you would attach your syringe to. Okay, these are two holes we're attaching our syringe to. The next thing we have to do is we have to physically make the syringe go into here. Let me just think, how did I do this? I believe I made a line connecting the two circles, and then I made the cylinder based off that. So let's go and, if we have here, we have our cylinder. Right now, if we just attach the cylinder, if I just sketch from here and I make the cylinder, and I make the cylinder is going to be made from the center of the cylinder, which isn't going to work there because it's going to overlap that piece. So I need to make my center of the cylinder a bit further away. We're going to do a thing called an offset plane. So I'm going to go to construction, an offset plane. So I don't want to make the center of the cylinder aligned with this. I want to make it, I want to click that and I want to offset that 5 more millimeters. Actually, no, 2.5 probably. 2.5. Okay. And I'll show you why this is important, because now when I go to sketch, all right, I'm going to press the sketch button. I'm going to make a cylinder along this line, but before I can do that cylinder, I want it to be aligned with these two holes. So I need to project this hole and this hole. Project. That. And that. Okay. Yep, so now I have these two here. I'm going to get a line connecting that to there, and I will press finish sketch. So now if we look in this in the 3D, see how this line is the center of the cylinder? It's off, it's not there, it's starting from there. That's the center of the cylinder. That's because we offset that. If we didn't, then this line would be like attached to here, and it's not going to look as good. Then we need to turn this into, obviously we have to turn this into a cylinder. We're going to go to construction again. We're going to make a plane along a path. We're going to click this line and we're going to drag it down here. And what this allows us to do is then when we sketch this, we can then make our cylinder. And this one, I believe I said this one was 5. So if I press 5, okay. So now I have this line over here, and we can extrude this. We can extrude this cylinder this much, and then we can press OK. And then we also need to, we have to also do another extrusion. We have to also extrude this. This one actually doesn't matter, but we have to join. Okay. Okay. So that's the bottom half of that that cylinder there. And we're going to do the same for the top cylinder. Now, luckily, it's the same size, so we can go to sketch again. Remember with Fusion, once we've used our sketch, they kind of disappear. So we're just going to go here and open up this drawing. And over here, we're going to redo this sketch. Sorry, not that. It's where is it? I think it's under construction. This plane that we made. So we have this plane over here. We'll go to this plane and we will sketch on this plane. Sketch. We're going to make another circle. Now this circle I will make smaller. So the last one was 5. We'll make this one. We'll make this one 4. Okay. And this is going to be the other half of the cylinder. I just want to select, no, I just want to select this. Boys, stop. So I'm having an issue here where it's hard to select it because there's multiple circles. There's a trick in Fusion where if you just hold the mouse button down, it shows multiple things. It's basically everything that mouse button could be selecting. And so I can go hover over it, and the ones that are highlighted in the color I like, so this is that shape over there. And then I can go and bring this all the way through to here. Now it's going to try to cut it up and color it, but instead I want this to be a new body because we're going to use that later, this particular body. Yep, and then I also, I'll press OK. Just to clean this up, I'm going to hide some things to make it easier. We're going to hide this. We're going to hide this. I need this circle to show up on this particular shape here. Where is that? This one, okay. And I need to extrude this circle through here. Okay. So now we have everything. We have basically everything ready for us to make our piston that can expand. We're just going to name some of these things here to make it easier. So this over here we can call the base box. This part over here can be lid. lid box. This one over here can be, we can call this the outs. What do we call the two parts of the piston? What do you want to call them? How would you describe the inside and the outside, right? So the bigger one will be the outside piston. And this will be the inside piston. Inside piston, okay. So we have our parts here, and now we're going to make them, they're all going to be related. At this point, you'd probably save your thing, whatever. Then, to make them move like the part we had open before, we actually need to stop and make them not be bodies. They have to be, components. So how we do this is we're going to highlight all these parts by, we press the control button and we select all the individual parts we want, and we're going to right click, and then we're going to press create components from bodies. And so what's done over here is they're no longer in the body section, they're over here. They're individual components. That means that we can actually move them relative to each other. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to make the top lid open. And how we do this in the, we're going to be dealing with a thing called assembly. And in assembly, we're going to make joints, which is where we connect parts in our Fusion Design together. We're going to connect the joints. And so how a joint works is we get two objects and we say, what are their relationships to each other? And I think from memory, the first object is the object that doesn't move. If this is incorrect, we'll redo it again. So the object, this is similar to our alignment tool. See, as I hover the mouse over sections, we see these white dots and triangles and things. Again, it's trying to figure out what we want to do with this scenario. How I like to do our joints is I like to hide the things we're not using at the time to make it easier. So we're not using the two pistons right now, so we're going to hide those two. I'm going to hover this mouse, and as I hover this mouse over this part over here, I've selected one part of the design. Now notice as soon as I select it, and over here in the top right, it says base box 1 is selected for component 1. And what happened to it? It disappeared. It's hidden. It says, now give me something else. Fusion, in this case, it's actually kind of smart in this area. It knows a lot of these parts are probably overlapping, so it already automatically hides the part that you've already selected, and so finds the other part. Well, we know that that corner part is going to rotate with this part over here. And so I click this, and something happened. What happened? It flipped the whole box together, right? Yep. So this is what I said that happened. It's the wrong order. So we're going to cancel that. Yeah, the moving part is the part that moves. No. Yeah, we do the moving part first and the stationary part second. So we'll go to assembly, we'll go to joints. So we want to select this top half. So let's actually hide. Let's actually hide the base. And so we want to select this part, select that, and then we'll show the base, and that's the part we want over here. As we click it, and as soon as we click it, it should try to do something. Is it going to demonstrate to us? So this motion, so now they're connected, good. These two parts are connected together. We can do things like we can flip them upside down, we can press this flip button. And for this part, I'll actually hide the analysis. Yeah. So we can flip it together because they're both valid options to having this box connected together based on the requirements you said. All we were saying here is these two cylinders have to be interlocked. But we actually want to move this. So we're going to go to motion and see over here I've selected type rigid. Well, we don't want that. The best thing that describes this joint is a revolve. We want the lid axle basically to revolve around the base. So we'll press the revolve tool and it's called the revolute. Have a look at my screen, please, right now. Have a look at my screen. As soon as I press revolute, look what happens. It demonstrates it's saying this is what can happen with this revolution. So that's a good way for us to say, yes, that is exactly what we want to happen. Next thing we can do is we can start doing some minimums and maximums. So that's our minimum. And then I think we can So we're going to say that's our minimum where we want our box to end. And then we can even change our maximum. So who has a maximum angle of their thing? It's about 90 degrees, right? Yeah. So we'll just do 90. 90 is up here. Cool. And then we can even say preview limits. Ooh, look at that. Ooh. Wonderful. That's exactly what we want our box to do. And we can perfect that later. Cool, done. Now for the rest, I need to show the sectional analysis. Cool. This part of the piston over here, this is also going to do the same thing, right? This piston's also going to revolve. The base of the piston is also going to revolve around here. It just looks a bit weirder as it does it. Is there a hole in here? There's no hole in here. Oh, wrong one, sorry. There we go. So we need the same thing. The reason why we did this curve here is this part of this curve is the part that's going to revolve around this hole that we made here. So we're going to do the same thing. We're going to do assembly. We're going to do joints. Which part do we do first? We do the moving part first. So between the box base and the piston, which part is going to move? Yes, you're right. The piston will be the part that moves. The base of your box is not going to move. So we will make the piston move. We're going to select this part of the piston, and then we'll pick this part of the box over here, and cool, that should revolve like that. Wonderful, yes. Okay, and then motion, revolute, yes, that's what we want. And I believe you can also offset it. I don't know if the offset matters yet. And then press OK. Cool. The next thing we need to do is we need to make these two pistons move. So I'm going to hide everything else. So the way these two pistons move is they're not revolving, they're sliding. One sliding inside the other one. So we'll go to assembly, we'll go to joint. This is the piston that's going to move. And for this one, I'm going to press the whole, I want to just cover the whole axis over here. Just press this one over here, and this outside shell, and these ones, motion, we don't want these to be a revolution, we want this to be a slider. That is the wrong direction for sliding though. We want, okay, I mean that's roughly the right direction. There's just limits with limits, but that should be fine. Can I drag it down? What we'll do is motion, we'll actually flip the direction. Flip, okay. Motion and preview, air. So that's basically what we want our piston to do. Sort of, yeah, cool. That's basically what we want our piston to do. For this one in particular, it doesn't matter about which is the moving one and which one's the non-moving one. And the last thing we have to do with our motion is we need the inside piston to connect to the lid and follow its particular rules. So it's going to be another revolve. So we're going to assembly, go to joints. We want, did this not work? Assembly, joints. Okay, that to be the solid one, so we'll press this. For this one first, I'm going to go to motion. I'm going to press revolute first. We want this to align with this. And then we might have to offset it. Or maybe not revolute, maybe cylindrical is a better choice. Sure, that could work. Cylindrical. All right, so now we have all these parts together. Now, if if everything works, we're going to try to see if we can move this and if this can work and if our lid can open. So how we do this is under relationships over here. If we look at relationships and joints, we should have 4 connections. And our first one is our lid. If we right click this and we press animate joint relationships, oh my, oh, look at that. Wow. So the piston's opening and it's making sense. It's actually what we want our piston to do. And then other than that, you can go and make parts of the piston look better. Like you can, press escape. We can do things like this outside piston. We can actually change the appearance of this. We can make this one like more transparent so we can see the thing inside it. Now, when it comes to animating the joint, I would think the best one is animate the joint that you've put the limits on, and so everything else will follow that. So we followed the lid part. So right click, animate that joint there, and look at that. Oof. We even see the piston inside here moving. Exactly. Chef kiss. We can then hide our analysis over here. So we have the whole box, and look at that. When you want that to, the point of this, if you want to take pictures for your orthographic drawings and all that stuff, you can also use this to find out particular angles, which will be useful when you're doing your maths and your calculations. So what you can do for that is we can stop this. We can go to this joint over here. We can right click, rotate. We can go here and we can change the limits. If we want to say, if I want to find out what this, what the angles will be when this is at like 80 degrees, I can go 80. So what I do is maximum, minimum. I just change this to that. And I press OK. And then everything follows that. And then you can do things like you can do your maths by like finding out what this particular length is. We can go to inspection and we can inspect like the distance between this circle. We can go distance between this circle and this circle over here. Cool. And then we have these distances. We have 61. So we can use all this for all our maths for our particular designs.